All right.
Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Ooh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is, in fact, Tuesday, which around here means a good thing. It's BrewsdayTuesday, week 2 of BrewsdayTuesday. We should have done a special, even more celebration, because it's 2 of Tuesday.
You know what? We got 4, 8, 10, 6. Anyway.
We'll celebrate them all, man.
We can do like cubed one time. It'll all be good.
Cubes Day.
Cube steak beer. I haven't
Steak.
made that one yet.
Well, it is BrewsdayTuesday, which is when I'm happy to open the studio door to my man Huck here, a beer enthusiast. HucksBeerBuzz.com if you want to check that out. At HucksBeerBuzz on the Twitter, and of course on Untapped you can find him Huck's Beer Buzz as well. How you been, man? It's been a week since I seen you.
It's been good. You know, we got through the holidays, drank a lot of beer, so now we're just cruising along.
Cruising along into the regular January. The cold. It's so cold outside. He brought this beer up and he was like, you know what? The stuff isn't super warm yet. Let me just put it back outside the door real quick.
Set it outside, cooled it down.
Let it get nice and
So
chill.
this is the time of year where we're all going to drink session beers.
Session beers.
No, we're not.
I don't know what do you mean session beers?
Session beer is a new thing. They make a beer. It's only 5 or 6% alcohol instead of like a barley wine, which is 12. So you drink a lighter beer, and you can drink more of them. You can have a long session.
Ah, okay.
Of course.
So session beers are standard beers. So you're saying like 5 or 6. That's pretty average,
well,
right?
You know, some of them down to 4.5. You know, down there in the range of the golden water beers, which we won't mention. But in any case, I actually have a saying I like to say, which is they're all session beers to me.
Yeah.
Which means I don't care, 10% session beer. But anyway.
Go hard, right?
Yeah, most people, it's a problem, you know. So they're making beers that are a little bit lighter on the alcohol because people don't want to, get in trouble.
See, but I would think that with the cold, usually you think of a darker, heavier beer that usually I would think has a higher alcohol.
Well, I wasn't really referring to the cold, more of the New Year's resolutions.
So people are trying to stay fit.
Yeah, let's cut back on our drinking. Let's get rid of all those biscuits we ate over
so
the
instead
holidays.
of cut back on the drinking, you're saying you just switch to a lighter beer.
Lighter beer because you can't stop. Come on.
Let's be honest. Yeah, you can kind of control your New Year because you can't just cut alcohol out completely. That's just ridiculous. You could try and cut back, maybe go for the lighter, session beers.
Session beer.
Session beers.
That's
I like it. That'll be my New Year's
There
resolution.
you go. Sessions.
All right, cool, man. So you brought some session beers today?
Well, kind of. These are like the original beer, the original craft beer, in my opinion. These pale ales.
Pale ale. That's the classic. That's like the basic of a craft beer.
And I brought a couple of pale ales, and one of them, the first one we're drinking right now, is the Star Hill Grateful Pale Ale.
So we're starting with the Grateful Pale Ale, Star Hill. Now these guys, I know you've known them for a long time. Out of Charlottesville, I've gotten out there to the brewery. I'm sure you have as well.
Oh yeah.
They have a lot of great brews, really cool guys, and one of the things I do love about them is their labels are always really, really cool, and they have catchy names too. Which a lot of the times, I'm not gonna lie to you. This Grateful Pale Ale, it used to have even more of a hardcore. Great, deadhead kind of a theme to it, and the beer wasn't my favorite, but just seeing it, you're like, oh, I gotta buy that beer,
Yeah, it's got the whole theme to it. People like a theme beer, and it's a really good beer. Pale ale is one of my gateway beers. The Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I brought a pale ale today. So we're gonna probably work through a lot of beers this year. But this one I thought, a little bit in the theme of getting healthy again after the holidays and lighter, but nonetheless. Getting back to our roots.
It is a lighter beer. It's got a nice color to it. It's got some hops, but it's not knock you over the head hoppy like one of the guys you brought last time. What were they? The Clone.
The IPA Clone.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's the thing with the pale ale. A lot of people are like, I don't like IPAs. Well, pale ale is a good way to go, and if you drink a few of them, you're going to find a type that might lead you to an IPA that you like, because there's several kinds of IPAs, and we'll touch on that in another show. But we'll have a really in-depth discussion of IPAs one day.
There is the IPA debate, but we'll leave that for another.
Today we're just kind of cruising on the brews.
Cruising with the light brews. So Star Hill. What do you know about it? I knew the guy Mark. Well, I think he sold it, right? Do you know who's the owner now?
The history, and of course, everything I say has a BS ratio of maybe 60%.
Because you're always a few session beers in.
Right. You just never know. But I went there years ago when they were first starting out, and at some point he was purchased at 50% by AB, the mothership.
Yeah.
And that went on for a while, and then when they sold to InBev, they released him to some extent. I think he still has some ownership. I think he is majority owner again now.
Really?
He's still distributed by InBev in Virginia, but he's
I
no
know
longer
Virginia Eagle distributes around here.
right. He's no
They're
longer. I
local
don't think
guys.
he's no longer controlled by them.
Gotcha.
I think he was released from contractually being, because he's one of the early ones that sold.
Yeah, Star Hill. I mean, Star Hill, in the grand scheme of things, of local breweries or like Virginia breweries, they got in at the early.
They're one of the
They've been around
first.
for a
I mean,
long while.
I can't. I've never. I'll do that someday in chronological order, but they were very, very early.
Definitely. I mean, a
And
lot of
very
people,
good beer from the very beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones popping up here and there, but I mean, Star Hill is one of those names that you've heard around for quite a long time. A lot of people that probably aren't even into craft beer have at least heard or tried a Star Hill brew. And the Grateful Ale, man, it's definitely one to give it a go for sure.
And I was in Wintergreen. I spent some time there, working and living in that area. So Charlottesville is one of my hanging grounds,
Mhm.
and they started out in Charlottesville in a storefront, and that's where I first had their beer. And then they moved to Crozet, and actually the location in Crozet was a Morton's Food Center. When I was a kid and living in Waynesboro, my mom used to, 6 kids, drive us over there in a van, and we'd load up on the smashed pies and the upside down chicken pot pies to feed the big family. So I'm very familiar with the facility because I was in there as a kid purchasing the factory seconds from Morton Foods.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is Hokie country, and so Charlottesville might not be super familiar for a lot of people, but it actually is a pretty nice little town. I got some family out there. I've been out there quite a few times, and actually just recently, last summer, I went and stayed with a buddy in Charlottesville. We did a little brewerage parkway, hit a bunch of breweries, and Star Hill was certainly one of the ones. They got a cool vibe in there, cool theme. They just got a real chill atmosphere, you know?
And the other half of the building is they sell records. There's a big band came out of Charlottesville.
Oh crap! What's their name?
Yeah, but anyway, they started selling their CDs and T-shirts.
It says like band in the name, right?
Right, yeah.
Dave Matthews. That's
Right.
it. Dave Matthews.
So they started selling their T-shirts and stuff
Yeah.
out of the back of the brewery.
Mhm.
And the other half, it's a huge building.
Yeah.
Well, now they sell for, I think, like 250 bands. They have this huge conglomerate back there. So both places have done extremely well. And actually, I saw Crozet has a new brewery. I don't get the name of it offhand, but I'll bring that information back another time. But so, you know, we're getting craft beer everywhere. This was one of the beginning craft beers, and love them or hate them, they've held their own.
They're there, man.
They're
No
there.
doubt about it. I will cheers to Star Hill. I'm a fan. You know, there's some great beers out there. Star Hill's got a few good ones. I mean, they're definitely not my favorite brewery by any means, but they're also not the worst brewery by any means as well. Really cool guys. I give them credit there. I mean, if you ever meet somebody from Star Hill, you can just shoot the S with them for hours without a doubt over
Yeah,
a cold one.
they're at Floyd Fest every year.
Yeah, you'll
You
definitely.
know, they're
see them
around, you'll see them.
Yeah, for sure.
I like their Jomo lager. You don't see that everywhere, but that's a
Yeah,
good
I don't know
beer
if
too.
I'm not sure. I'll have to see if I've untapped the Jomo. Speaking of untapped, I'm almost done with this one, so I think I'm about ready to give it a rating for the Star Hill Grateful Pale Ale. What kind of a rating? 1 through 5. What are you giving it?
I'm in it like a 3.75 on this beer. I like this beer. It's good to style. The hops are there, but they're not giving me too much bitterness. Enough to know they're there, but they're not really overpowering me. So I'm on a 3.75 on this.
You know what? I hate to follow suit, but I think this is a solid 375. Definitely above average, and it's got a great color. It's got a great taste. Like you said, it doesn't hit you over the head with the hops because I'm not the biggest hoppy guy, but you'd like to have a little bit of it. I mean, it's beer after all. You need to have some. So Grateful Pale Ale, pretty good. I'll give it a solid 375 on the Untapped. DreZ Drinks on Untapped if you want to check me out. Huck's Beer Buzz on him. We got another one we'll tap here in just a little bit, but right now we're going to get back to the music, and then we'll pop out, open another one. Brews Day Tuesday continues right here on 105.3 The Bear. It is Brews Day Tuesday here on 105.3 The Bear. DreZ here alongside with Huck from
Yes.
Huck's Beer Buzz.
It's Huck.
Huck, how you doing, Huck?
Huck is still good.
Good. Glad to hear, man. We're feeling pretty good. We're doing it's a pale ale kind of a day here on Brews Day Tuesday. We already untapped the Star Hill Grateful Pale Ale, and now we're moving on to another one. What else did you bring me, man?
Well, in the spirit of competition, just a few miles down the road from Star Hill, we have Blue Mountain Brewery, and they make a beer called the Full Nelson.
I was tapping the glass. I was trying to get the pour on there. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
I can see it.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it and I can taste it. That's what
You can't see it because you're on the radio, folks.
matters. Sorry, guys, but trust me, we're drinking.
I'll put some video up on my YouTube site.
Yeah.
So Blue Mountain makes this Virginia Pale Ale. So I thought we would, kind of head to head have a little competition here. I like both breweries. I got to tell you though, I'm liking this Blue Mountain.
I haven't sipped it yet, but going back to how you're saying how they're like basically almost neighbors. Remember how I mentioned with the Grateful. With the Star Hill and the Grateful Pale Ale, how I got to go visit Star Hill when I was in Charlottesville visiting my buddy. Well, what we did was this whole Brew Ridge Parkway tour, which I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but for those of y'all that don't know, the Brew Ridge Parkway tour consists of a number of breweries that happen to just be bam, bam, bam on this nice little strip. You got like Bold Rock Cider out there, which I know it's not a brewery, but Bold Rock's out there. Wolf Creek, I do believe.
Wolf something,
I think it's Wolf Creek.
The Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone is where you start, and then I got a meal there. It was pretty good.
It's really good food.
Very good, and Blue Mountain's definitely on that category too. So we swung by the Blue Mountain. There was this huge, almost like a big old farmhouse on a big plot of land. A lot of people there because it was on the weekend. Everybody was having a good time.
And they grow their own hops right there.
Yeah, right there. That's one of the things that's great about having it on a farm, right?
Yeah, like you're driving from Richmond back to Blacksburg, you can slide off the interstate at Crozet, hit the Blue Mountain for some food and just a taste of beer because you're driving.
You are driving.
Back on the interstate, top of Afton Mountain.
I highly recommend doing that. I mean, we made a day of it. I made a weekend out of it. I think I hit like 12 breweries in 3 days that weekend.
Ooh, that's good.
It was a good weekend, no doubt. But yeah, even if you're just cruising up, from back home or whatever, you're from up north, for school or whatever, you can swing on down the Brew Ridge Parkway, hit up the Devil's Backbone or something, grab some food, grab a couple brews. It's
beautiful there. They have a festival in the fall I go to. I think they're moving it to the Locken site, but it's really just so nice up in there. I worked at Wintergreen for 6 years. I love the mountains. And you add the craft beer to it, and it's perfect.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. So let's get back to it. We got the Full Nelson. You're already sipping it. I'm gonna give it a go right now. I just checked. I have untapped this in the past, but as we know, taste buds tend to change. So I had rated it a solid 3. So that's like an average beer, which I feel like I'll probably give it more than that. Since I've been doing Untapped more and more, your grading scale, you kind of get to find exactly where you want them. Now I grade a 3 as just like your average beer, and I feel like this is probably better than your average beer, isn't it?
Yeah, there's more to it in this particular case. When they start out as one of their first beers, and I used to say that whenever I opened a Full Nelson, I didn't know what I was going to get. Because there was a good batch, then there was a not so good batch, and there's an excellent batch. And I gotta say that drinking this today, it's probably been at least a year since I had one. This is really good. I think they've really figured out the recipe on this.
So like you're saying, I mean, especially just like wine. I mean, different years for different wines, they'll taste a little bit different.
Every batch is different.
Every batch is a little different, but what's key is when they can keep it consistent. That's the goal. But you never know. So sometimes, a mouse falls into the winter.
Well, that big giant building you're talking about started out as like a house, and they were making the beer in the 2-car garage, and it went from there. So now it's a full-scale production brewery.
So it will be a little different. Different equipment.
Much more consistent.
Yes, much more consistent for sure. Another thing that I noticed though is that we went from the Star Hill that came in a bottle versus the Full Nelson in a can. Now, what's your? I'll say this right off the bat. We poured the beer, the Full Nelson, from the can into the glass because and I'm sure you'll agree with me here. You should always drink beer out of glass.
I would agree.
And ideally, even from a bottle into a glass to help unleash the aromas and stuff.
But there are circumstances where certain bars that you need to drink out of the bottle, otherwise they take you out to the dumpster. So, but other than that, you should drink it out of a glass.
Drink it out of a glass if possible. If you're at your buddy's and he hands you one, you don't have a pint glass. That's the way it is. Yeah. Same with cans, but I certainly prefer with a number of different brews. If they got it in a can versus a bottle, I usually reach for the bottle.
Well, nowadays a lot of venues don't allow bottles. There's some thought that the cans keep it fresher because there's no light. You don't have to worry about light.
They can shine in on it.
Right.
That's why, and for those of you that don't know, that's why a lot of places, that's why you get the darker bottles versus a clear bottle. Is for that very reason.
Of course, the darker beer, the less skunkable it is. But the point is that the can technology is better than it was, and because of the fact that people don't like glass in certain venues, parks, and other places, the bottles are good, and I think that's a good point that you brought this up, that we're having the two, and I think this is as good a beer out of the can as the other beer was out of the bottle.
I agree too. It is It tastes fresh. I don't think that having it out of a can, it's really, to me, it's drinking it out of a can, I think that makes it the difference. If you pour it into a glass, I'm all for it. But if I had to choose between drinking out of a can or a bottle, I'd say bottle all day.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was a young man, I would buy my beer in bar bottles and return them. Of course, I was in the restaurant industry then, so it was easier.
Are you getting a nickel back for every
Yeah,
bottle?
well, you know, I worked there. I just, take it back.
Just say, well,
Don't say anything.
oh, yeah, I won't tell the.
My old boss is listening. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, from how long ago? From where is this?
I'm not saying.
But yeah, so it's just another thing to think about when it comes to the brews. And but let's get back to the Full Nelson. Blue Mountain Brewery. They got a lot of great brews out there. I'm sure you've had a number of them. What you got another favorite from Full Nelson?
From Blue Mountain, I like
Blue Mountain,
their Kolsch 151 is probably my favorite beer.
The
they
Kolsch, yes, I've
Yeah.
had the Kolsch
Yeah.
too.
But I'm gonna give this the same score because I don't want friends fighting. I'm gonna give it a 3.75. I think it's a little thicker. The hops are not as pure, I think, as they were in the Grateful.
Mm-hmm.
But the beer's a little bit more mouthfeel, a little creamier on my mouth. I like the way it slides
Seems
down
to be
my
a little
throat.
smoother too.
Yeah,
A little bit.
yeah.
It is just a little bit kind of fresher, smoother. So let me let's dive into since we're doing the pale ale thing. We've had two pale ales. What's your take on pale ales? What is the deal with the pale ale versus your other brews? You got your IPAs. You got your.
It's the moderate hops.
All right.
I'll just 2 words: moderate hops. A pale ale has moderate hops. Some have more, some have less, but they always have hops. So you're going to have a beer that's not overwhelming. It's not usually too high. I'm just thinking back in my head if I ever heard of an Imperial Pale Ale. No, there's probably one out there and somebody's going to correct me on this. But
Yeah.
it's not a beer I see all the time.
It's not common.
It's a plain beer. It's a vanilla beer.
It's
for craft beer.
It's your basic beer of a beer.
Correct.
Exactly.
And
so
you
it's
can
nothing
always
too-
go to it. I mean, I grab a 6-pack of Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Let's go to Colorado here for a second. I'll just grab or North Carolina now for that matter. I'll grab a 6-pack of that. I'll grab a 6-pack of the Grateful. I'll grab a 6-pack of the Full Nelson, and I'll take it and go watch the football game.
That is what's good about a pale ale. Like, I mean, there is a certain beer for every occasion. This is your beer for every occasion.
Yeah.
It's just your generic beer, and it's kind of like it's on the lines of an IPA, but it's not there yet. It's not like. It's like, here's your IPA up here. I know this is radio, but I got my arm up in the air.
I'm
Hops
looking
wise, it's down here. It's not too over the top. It's just your average beer.
That's right.
That's the pale ale. So if you're not a hoppy person, pale ales are just a good go-to.
Exactly.
That's the name of the
You're really not going to offend anyone, and we're all going to have a good time.
Well, I think it is time for me to give my Untapped rating. By the way, DreZ drinks on Untapped. Huck's Beer Buzz on
Huck's
Untapped.
Beer
You can
Buzz.
see what we're rating these beers. You can see what we've also gave ratings for. I mean, I've been on it for maybe a year or two now. You've been on it. When did you discover Untapped?
12/25/2010. I think.
Does it have like the start? I guess the first
Yeah,
time.
that
you
does
check
have
in,
your first
you see-
dates. I've been on there 5 years, 6
Yeah,
years.
so he's got a couple of Untaps on me,
Yeah.
but and you also probably try a lot more than I do. So you can get an idea of what we like, where our taste buds range from. But it is a pretty fun app. I was really glad when I discovered
You
that.
can friend us on there.
Yes, you can friend us. Yes, that's the main
You
thing.
can
I was trying
comment
to get
on our taste.
You can comment. You can toast us.
You can
That's
toast
always
us,
fun.
You can tell us we're stupid if we're drinking the wrong beer.
And I know this might sound like we're getting a kickback from Untapped. Not at all. We're just beer enthusiasts, and it's a pretty handy app.
No, actually, I'd say bad things about them sometimes, but in all, I think I like the app.
What's bad about it?
Oh, sometimes they get overwhelmed when people are doing things. And sometimes,
Well, see, because you're doing your own beer
Right.
and like having to submit
If you-
it and do all that.
right, if you
jazz.
go to like a big beer convention or a big tasting, you can't get through sometimes. It's like anything else, sometimes you can't get through on the phone. Everybody's on their phones.
Try to come out, but nope, we're not going to answer.
I invited 5,000 people to my beer festival to look at their phones.
Yeah.
Look at them, they're doing it.
That's a topic for a whole other day. Let's not even get started on that one. Well, as for me and my Untapped rating of the Full Nelson Virginia Pale Ale, I don't think I'm going to give it quite as good a rating as the
You
Star
don't have
Hill.
to, we're different.
I know we are different. I originally gave it a 3. It's definitely better than your average beer, so I'll give it more than that. I'll probably give it a 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
good,
That's a
clean
solid
rating.
beer. It's a solid beer. You really can't go wrong. It's not one. I mean, when there's a million other options, it's probably not the one I'm going to go to, but I'm not gonna shun it. If somebody offers me one named Huck, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah,
I'm not
I got another one over there. I think you'll probably take it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's take a break. We're gonna take a break. Huck, as always, I appreciate you coming in, man.
Good to be here.
Tuesday. You can find Huck at Huck's Beer Buzz on the Twitter, hucksbeerbuzz.com, and of course, like we were saying, if you want to check out the Untapped app, if you haven't already downloaded, Huck's Beer Buzz on there. You can friend them. You can friend me, DreZ Drinks, and we're doing Brews Day Tuesdays, man. So actually. And let me throw this out there. If you are a brew enthusiast and you maybe have some suggestions on some topics we should cover, some brews we should try, you can definitely send those our way via email, DreZ@1053thebear.com. Quick break, and we'll be back to the tunes right here on 105.3 The Bear.